time 6:55 because it will be here 7:55, and then everybody will be up and there will be something that I need to do. So please bear with me for 10 days. I will have to close at 6:55 a.m. It is a Vedic custom that the junior members of the family should offer respect to the elders every morning. The children or disciple especially should offer the respect to their parents or spiritual master in the morning. I hope everyone is doing. If not, then you should train them. In pursuance of this Vedic principle, Lord Krishna and Balaram used to offer their obeisances to their parents, Vasudeva and Devaki. If Krishna can do it, our children should also do it. One day, after having returned from the sacrificial performance at Kurukshetra, when Lord Krishna and Balaram went to offer their respect to Vasudeva, Vasudeva took the opportunity to appreciate the exalted position of his two sons. Vasudeva had the opportunity to understand the position of Krishna and Balaram from the great sages who had assembled in the arena of sacrifice. Not only did he hear from the sages, but on many occasions he actually experienced that Krishna and Balaram were not ordinary human beings, but were very extraordinary. Thus he believed the words of the sages that his son Krishna and Balaram were the Supreme Personality of Godhead. With firm faith in his sons, he addressed them as follows. Quote, "My dear Krishna, you are the Satchitananda Vigraha, Supreme Personality of Godhead. And my dear Balram, you are Shankarshan, the master of all mystic powers. Therefore, I have now understand that you are eternal. Both of you are transcendental to this material manifestation and to its cause, the Supreme Person, Mahavishnu. You are the original controller of all. You are the resting place of the cosmic manifestation. You are its creator, and you are also its creative ingredients. You are the master of all this cosmic manifestation. And actually, this manifestation is created for your pastimes only." Continued. The different material phases that are manifest from the beginning to the end of the cosmos under different formulas of time are also yourself, because you are both the cause and effect of this manifestation. The two futures of this material world, the predominator and the predominated, are also you. And you are the supreme transcendental controller who stand above them. Therefore, you are beyond the perceptions of our senses. Haribol. You are the Supreme Soul, unborn and unchanging. You are not affected by the six kinds of transformation which occur in the material body. The wonderful varieties of this material world are also created by you. And you have entered as the super soul into all of them, down to the atom. You are the vital force of all this manifestation, and also the supreme cognition. As such, you are the maintainer of everything. When the super soul leaves our body, that's it. Our life air goes out. The vital force, the life principle in everything, and the creative force derived from it are not acting independently but are depending upon you. Mama Vartanu Vartante Manushya Partha Sarvasa. That we are following everything, whatever the Krishnas has arranged. No choice, no that much independence, very little. The supreme person behind these forces, without your will, they cannot work. Material energy has no cognizance. It cannot act independently without being agitated by you. Because the material nature is dependent upon you, the living entity can only attempt to act. But without your sanction and will, they cannot perform anything or achieve the results they desire. Haribol. The original energy is only an emanation from you. My dear Lord, the shining of the moon, the heat of the fire, the rays of the sun, the glittering of the star, and the electric lighting, which are all manifested as very powerful, as well as the gravity of the mountains and the energy and fragrance of the earth, all are different manifestations of you. The pure taste of water, the water itself, and the vital force which maintains all life are also future of your Lordship. Gokul Prabhu has unmuted and sometimes it creates little disturbance. So I have muted you. Thank you. My dear Lord, although the forces of the senses, the mental power of thinking, willing, and feeling, and the strength, movement, and growth of the body appear to be performed by different movements of the air within the body. They are all ultimately manifestations of your energy. The vast expanse of outer space rests in you. The vibration of the sky, its thunder, the supreme sound, Omkar, and the arrangement of the different words to distinguish one thing from another are all symbolic representations of you. The senses, the controller of the senses, the demigod, and the acquisitions of knowledge, which is the purpose of the senses, as well as the subject matter of knowledge, all are you. The resolutions of intelligence and the sharp memory of the living entity are also you. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, right? You are the egoistic principle of ignorance, which is the cause of this material world. The egoistic principle of passion, which is the cause of the senses. And the egoistic principle of goodness, which is the origin of the different controlling deity of this material world. The illusory energy or Maya, which is the cause of the conditioned soul's perpetual transmigration from one form to another, is you. They continued. My dear Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are the original cause of all causes, exactly as the earth is the original cause of different kinds of trees, plants, and similar varieties of manifestation. As the earth is present in everything, so you are present throughout this material manifestation as the super soul. You are the supreme cause of all causes, the eternal principle. Everything, in fact, is a manifestation of your one energy. The three qualities of the material nature, sattva, rajas, and tamas, and the result of their interactions are linked up with you by your agency of Yogamaya. They are supposed to be independent, but Actually, the total material energy rests upon you, the super soul. Since you are the supreme cause of everything, the interactions of the material manifestations, birth, growth, existence, transformation, deterioration, and annihilations are all absent in you. Your supreme energy, Yogamaya, is acting in variegated manifestations. But because Yogamaya is your energy, you are therefore present in everything. In the Bhagavad Gita, this fact is very nicely explained in the ninth chapter, wherein the Lord says, in my impersonal form, I'm spread all over the material energy. Everything is resting in me, but I'm not there. So this very statement is also given by Vasudeva. To say that the Lord is not present everywhere means that he is aloof from everything, although his energy is acting everywhere. These can be understood by a crude example. In a big establishment, the energy or the organization of the supreme boss is working in every nook and corner of the business. But that does not mean the original proprietor is present there. Although in every department the presence of the proprietor is felt by the worker, but the physical presence of the proprietor in every department is a formality only. Actually, his energy is working everywhere. Similarly, the omnipresence of the Supreme Personality Godhead is felt in the actions of his energies. Therefore, the philosophy of inconceivable, simultaneous oneness with and difference from the Supreme Lord is confirmed everywhere. The Lord is one, but his energies are diverse. Vasudev continued. This material world is like a great flowing river, and its waves are the three material modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. This material body, as well as the senses, the faculties of thinking, feeling, and willing, and the stages of distress, happiness, attachment, and lust, all are different product of these three qualities of nature. The foolish person who cannot realize your transcendental identity above all these material reactions, continues in the entanglement of fruitive activity and is subjected to the continuous process of birth and death without a chance of being freed. Haribol. Vasudeva is revealing everything. This is confirmed in the different way by the Lord in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. There it is said that anyone who knows the appearance and activities of the Supreme Lord Krishna is freed from the clutches of material nature and goes back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishna's transcendental name, form, activities, and qualities are not product of this material nature. My dear Lord, Vasudev continue. Despite all this defect of the conditioned soul, if someone somehow or other comes in contact with devotional service, he achieves the civilized human form of body with developed consciousness and thereby becomes capable of executing further progress in devotional service. And yet, illusioned by the external energy People generally do not utilize this advantage of the human form of life. Thus, they miss the chance of eternal freedom and unnecessarily spoil the progress they have made after thousands of births. It's automatically by Krishna's mercy. Before the human form of life, all the pieces of life, we always make advancement to the higher pieces of life by the mercy of Krishna. But when we attain the human form of life, we become responsible for our activities. And from that reason, either we can go upward or downward according to the activity we perform while we are in this material world. So Vasudeva's continued his wonderful glorification. In the bodily concepts of life, due to false egotism, one is attached to the offspring of the body, and thus everyone in conditioned life is entrapped by false relationship and false affection. The real relationship and the affection should be with Krishna. The whole world is moving under this false impression and suffering material bondage. I know that neither of you is my son. Both of you are the original chief and progenitor, the personality of Godhead, the Purusha with Pradhan. But you have appeared on the surface of this globe to minimize the burden of the world by killing the Kshatriya kings who are unnecessarily increasing their military strength. You have already informed me about this in the past. My dear Lord, you are the shelter of the surrendered souls, the supreme well-wisher of the meek and humble. I am therefore taking shelter of your lotus feet, which alone can give one liberation from the entanglement of material existence. As we were reading the commentary by Sachinandan Swami Maharaj, he was making a wonderful point about that we have this material desire, this dust compared to the big mountain. And Sachinandan Swami Maharaj shared with us that the only way that we will be able to dismantle these big mountains of dirt of material existence is if we become attached to the lotus feet of Krishna. That's the only way. And Raghunath Das Goswami is narrating how we can become attached to the lotus feet of Krishna by hearing about him, knowing him, his activity, his qualities, how he deals with the different levels of devotees. That knowledge will become beneficial for all of us to become attached to Krishna. And then Raghunath Das Goswami, or in terms of Sivaram Maharaj, was revealing that when we see the deities, we should observe much, much more for a long, long time, only on the lotus feet of Krishna before we go toward the ankle and the chest and face, because this lotus feet can destroy, work like a thunderbolt to destroy the mountain of uh, dirt that we have been carrying in our heart for many, many lives. So Vasudeva is still glorifying him for a long time. I have simply considered this body to be myself. And although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I have considered you my son. My dear Lord, at the very moment when you first appeared in Kamsa's prison house, you informed me that you were the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that you had descended for the perfection of the principle of religion as well as the destructions of the unfaithful. Although unborn, you descend in every millennium to execute your mission. My dear Lord, as in the sky there are many forms, appearing and disappearing, you also appear in many eternal forms and then disappear. Who therefore can understand your pastime or the mystery of your appearance and disappearance? Our only business should be to glorify your supreme greatness. Haribol. When Vasudeva was addressing his divine sons in this way, Lord Krishna and Balram were smiling because they are very affectionate to their devotees. They accepted all the appreciation of Vasudeva with a kindly, smiling attitude. Krishna then confirmed all of Vasudeva's statement as follows. My dear father, whatever you may say, we are, after all, your sons. What you have said about us is certainly a highly philosophical understanding of spiritual knowledge. I accept it in toto, without exceptions. Haribol. Vasudeva was in the complete perfection of life in considering Lord Krishna and Balram to be his sons. But because the sages assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra had spoken about the Lord as the supreme cause of everything, Vasudeva simply repeated it out of his love for Krishna and Balram. Lord Krishna did not wish to detract from his relationship with Vasudeva as father and son. Therefore, in the very beginning of his reply, he accepted the fact that he is the eternal son of Vasudeva and that Vasudeva is the eternal father of Krishna. After this, Lord Krishna informed his father of the spiritual identity of all living entities. And then he continued, my dear father, everyone and everything, including me and my brother Balram, as well as all the inhabitants of the city of Dwarka and the whole cosmic manifestations are exactly as you have already explained. But all of us are also qualitatively one with you. Lord Krishna intended for Vasudeva to see everything with the vision of a Mahabhagavat, a first-class devotee who says that all living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and that the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. In fact, every living entity has a spiritual identity. But in contact with material existence, one becomes influenced by the material modes of nature. He becomes covered by the concept of bodily life, forgetting that his spirit soul is of the same quality as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One mistakenly considers one individual to be different from another simply because of their material bodily covering. Because of differences between bodies, the spirit soul appear before us differently. Lord Krishna then gave a nice example in terms of the five material elements. The total material elements, namely the sky, air, fire, water, and earth, are present in everything in the material world, whether it is in an earthen pot, or in a mountain, or in a tree, or in a earring. These five elements are present in everything, in different proportions and quantities. A mountain is a gigantic form of the combination of these five elements, and a small earthen pot is made of the same elements, but in a smaller quantity. Therefore, all material items, although in different shapes or different quantities, are of the same ingredients. Similarly, the living entities beginning from Lord Krishna and including millions of Vishnu forms, and also the living entity in different forms, from Lord Brahma down to the small ant, are all of the same spiritual quality. Some are great in quantity and some are small, but qualitatively they are of the same nature. It is therefore confirmed in the Upanishads that Krishna, or the Supreme Lord, is the chief among all living entities, and that he maintains them and supplies them with all necessities of life. Haribol. Anyone who knows this philosophy is in perfect knowledge. The Vedic version, Tattvam Asi, though are the same, means not that everyone is God, but that everyone is qualitatively of the same nature as God. After hearing Krishna speak the entire philosophy of spiritual life in an abbreviated summation, Vasudeva was exceedingly pleased with his son. Being thus elated, he could not speak but remain silent. This is something that we should learn the lesson that in presence of senior, we should not open our mouth. If the senior devotees is answering some question, we should not try to interpret or to give another elaborated answer. We should keep silence and hear. This is the etiquette. My Guru Maharaj told me that if the senior is speaking, you don't open your mouth. But our urges of the tongue is so powerful that it's very difficult to control. In the meantime, Devaki, the mother of Lord Krishna, sat by the side of her husband. Previously, she had heard that Krishna and Balram were so kind to their teacher that they have brought back the teacher's dead son from the clutches of the superintendent of death, Yamaraj. Since she had heard of this incident, she had also been thinking of her own sons who were killed by Kamsa, and while remembering them, she was overwhelmed with grief. So what Krishna did, out of compassion for her mother, the dead sons, Devaki appealed to Lord Krishna and Balram thus as follows. My dear Balram, your very name suggests that you give all pleasure and all strength to everyone. Your unlimited potency is beyond the reach of our mind and words. And my dear Krishna, you are the master of all mystic yogis. I know that you are the master of the Prajapatis like Brahma and his assistants. And you are the original personality of Godhead Narayan. I also know for certain that you have descended to annihilate all kind of miscreants who have been misled in the course of time. They have lost control of their mind and senses, have fallen from the quality of goodness, and have deliberately neglected the direction of the revealed scripture by living a life of extravagance and impudence. You have descended on the earth to minimize the burden of the world by killing such miscreant rulers. My dear Krishna, I know that Mahavishnu, who is lying in the casual ocean of the cosmic manifestation, and who is the source of this whole creation, is simply an expansion of your plenary portion. The creation, maintenance, and annihilation of these cosmic manifestations are effected only by your plenary portion. I therefore take shelter of you without any reservation. I have heard that when you wanted to reward your teacher, Sandipani Muni, and he asked you to bring back his dead son. You and Balram immediately bought him from the custody of Yamraj, although he had been dead for a very long time. Devki is making very nice petition. By this act, I understand you to be the supreme master of all mystic yogis. I therefore ask you to fulfill my desire in the same way. In other words, I'm asking you to bring back all my sons who were killed by Kamsa. Upon your bringing them back, my heart will be content, and it will be a great pleasure for me just to see them once more. Haribo. Let me see. Okay, one more paragraph. After hearing this mother speak in this way, Lord Balram and Krishna immediately called for the assistance of Yogamaya and started for the lower planetary system known as Sutal. Formerly, in his incarnation of Vaman, the Supreme Personality Godhead had been satisfied by the king of the demons, Bali Maharaj, who donated to him everything he had. Bali Maharaj was then given the whole of Sutal for his residence and kingdom. Now, when this great devotee, Bali Maharaj, saw that Lord Balram and Krishna had come to his planet, he immediately merged in an ocean of happiness. As soon as he saw Lord Krishna and Balram in his presence, he and all his family members stood up from their seats and bowed down at the lotus feet of the Lords. Bali Maharaj offered Lord Krishna and Balram the best seat he had in his possessions. And when both lords were seated comfortably, he began to wash the lotus feet. He then sprinkled the water on his head and on the heads of his family members. The water used to wash the lotus feet of Krishna and Balram can purify even the greatest demigod, such as Lord Brahma. So that's the reason we visit the temple. We should always take the Charnamrita drink and then sprinkle it on the head. So I think with those thoughts, we would like to close our session. As long as I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina, the schedule will be like that because everybody get up by this time, 8 o'clock, and I have come here to help them out. Yesterday also, I think I asked forgiveness from Atulya Mataji that I promised them that I will attend the Sunday school because I like the children very much. But because I was going for the shopping, it was not possible to come back on time. So my apologies. So if Krishna so desire, we'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. And I feel really good that, even though I had to join at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, I will have the 6 hour sleep, which is I never had it. So I'm really relishing. And that's the reason I was just thinking that why the devotee who lives on the Eastern time zone cannot join at 2 o'clock. There is plenty of time to take rest. I went to the bed at 8:30 and then I get up at 2:30 and I was feeling so rested that I said, gosh, I must have missed my Zoom call. And then I watched the clock, it was 2:30, means 1:30 only. So I get up and start chanting. So I pray to Krishna to give the strength to all the devotees who lives in the Eastern Standard Time to join at 2 o'clock, not at 3 o'clock. You are joining at 3 o'clock, that means you are joining at your 4 o'clock time. Hari Bol. That's really not that nice. But what can be done? Everybody has the schedule to follow. and their desire the Krishna fulfill. But if we become sincere to change that habit, I think Krishna will be more than happy to assist us as he has done for so many other personalities. And he is not discriminating anyone. As soon as you show your sincerity to advance in spiritual life, he made all perfect arrangement for us. As Vasudeva was saying, he provided all our necessity of life. But do we have the faith that he provided? Whoever has the faith, he has provided. All saintly persons. Do you think that all the six Goswamis of Vrindavan were hankering for their maintenance? I don't think so. They were living at the underneath different trees, depending on someone to bring them some food. If not, then they will take whatever they found on the ground. They will never even clip the fruits from the tree unless it fall down. That was the custom. People were so satisfied. And I think with we see the little advancement we made, we can see that if we take complete surrender to Krishna, how nice that life, simple. No worries in our life, no suffering, no diseases. You can live so happily. People used to live very long life, healthy life. Like even 300, 150 years ago, there was no, uh, doctors or hospital or anything like that. Everything Krishna